Good morning, guys. It's been a while since I've made a video because, like usual, I've been extremely busy with my civilian job and my military job and just being busy, which is a good problem to have. It really is. I'm not complaining about being busy. I've gotten a lot of requests for different video topics over the past month or so on things that people want to talk about, things that people want to hear, and none of them are really good enough for a full-length video in and of itself. They're not really full-on topics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jam them into one video and call it Gun Rants, and we're going to do episodes of these. And sometimes this will be stuff that pisses me off, sometimes this will be educational content, and other times it'll just be me talking. But I enjoy doing the live videos. I like audience interaction. I like talking to people while we're actually shooting the video. So let's see if I view all live messages. The first live message that I got is from Andrew Hansen, and he wants to know why I shaved. So funny story about that. I had a really, like everyone remembers, I had a really big bushy mustache, and what happened was it was well outside of Air Force grooming standards. And at drill in October, I was informed that the commander of my squadron, a lieutenant colonel, had noticed that it was outside of Air Force grooming standards, and it had trickled down to my supervisor that I needed to police my mustache, as it were. So, that night, I am in the process of policing my mustache, and maybe I'd had a little bit too much to drink, and the end result of that was I shaved like this part off, and then I had this side way over here, and it looked like I had like half a Hitler mustache going on, and that was just, it was awful. And I didn't have the balls, I will admit, I didn't have the ball sack to actually go the full Hitler mustache, which is, if you read 362903, that's AFI 30, that's the Air Force uniform and grooming regulation. A Hitler mustache, perfectly inside of Air Force regulations. So that was going to be, but I didn't have the balls to pull it off. To answer Phil's question, my next tattoo is I'm going to get a big old veiny penis right here on my arm. No, I'm kidding. But I do actually want to get another American traditional style tattoo down my arm. Ty Carroll, benefits to joining the NRA. As a member, there are joining the NRA, the biggest benefit to joining the NRA as just a regular member is that money goes to support the NRA's educational programs, the NRA's shooting programs. The NRA puts a lot of money from the general operating fund back into businesses and gun ranges and things like that, which is what actually really helps keep the consumer side of the community alive. So I strongly recommend everybody join the NRA. What are my feelings on the Roland Special? Shut up, Andy. We'll talk about the Roland Special in a minute, actually, because that is on my list. What are my opinions of the car CM9? I really want to like cars. I do. But don't join the Gun Owners of America, to answer that question. Gun Owners of America has never accomplished anything politically. They're useless. Anyway, I really want to like car pistols, but they cost too much damn money. And I mean, the cheap, I know they have the new cheap ones out and stuff like that, but then if you're buying the cheap car, why not just buy a Glock 43 or an M&P Shield? Why buy the cheap car to begin with? Just buy one of the other guns. So, couple of questions that I did want to get. No, I'm not carrying the Gen 5 Glock 17 anymore, and I'm going to address that. So we've wrapped up the Gen 5 Glock 17 test, okay? It went 2,000 rounds. It had 3 failures to complete the cycle of operations and 1 minor parts breakage where the front sight flew off of the gun. So it gets a 92 out of 100 on the test. And it passed. It's a solid gun. It's just kind of a soulless plastic blaster. I don't think that the Glock 7, that the new Gen 5 is enough of an iterative upgrade for you to ditch your Gen 4s right now. So if you have a Gen 4 and it works and you're happy with it, there's no sense in ditching it just to go buy the Gen 5. The Gen 5 is fine, but if you have a Gen 4 and you're happy with it, keep your Gen 4 for now. If you're in the market for a new Glock and you don't have any existing Glocks and you want a new one, then I would look at the Gen 5 because it is an iterative upgrade and it is better than the Gen 4s. But if you're looking for a new one, go and get that one. All right, so now before I answer questions, we're going to get to some of the questions that people do have. So the first question that I've gotten that I'm going to answer, and I know there's a ton of questions, probably not. The Remington 700 probably won't ever be good as long as Cerber Freedomus or whatever the hell they're called is running the show. So questions. First question that I've gotten is, what am I carrying right now? I'm carrying an M9, like a full-sized Beretta M9 in 9mm. And it's pretty awesome as far as carry guns go. It is pretty heavy, too. But I wanted to switch back to hammer-fired guns after taking the class with Ernie Langdon because the hammer-fired gun gives me that additional level of safety when I'm holstering at the appendix carry position. And for from a purely competition standpoint, what I can do with this gun is I can have a... So on this gun, this is my carry gun. This one has the D-spring set up in it, and that's pretty much it. So my double action trigger pull on this is going to be 7.5, 8-ish, 9-ish pounds in that area. And then my single action trigger pull is 3.5 to 3 pounds, depending on how I measure it. So what this gives me is on every single shot after that first shot on a 32-round field course, I have a much better trigger pull than anybody out there who's running a striker-fired gun, unless, of course, they're running like a 2-pound trigger where all of the slack has been taken out of it, which I'm not really super-duper comfortable with. Oh, and by the way, for people who ask how I draw sitting and stand in the seated position, that's pretty much how I do it. So, that's what I'm carrying right now is a Beretta M9. Next question that we're going to answer about guns is, yes, I still have one of the Beretta PX4 compact carries, and I still do actually carry this gun. When I need a smaller platform than the M9, but I still want to keep that DA-SA trigger mechanism, this is what I'm going to go with for a carry gun, because again, I have that really nice rolling double action trigger, and then I have a really great single action trigger brake. As a matter of fact, let's tell you how much the single action on this is with a trigger pull gauge. Just hook this bad boy on here, pull back, boop, about 3.5 pounds. Very little travel, pretty great. So yes, I still have the PX4 compact carries. I still enjoy carrying them I still enjoy shooting it. It is still probably, to my mind, the best Glock 19 sized polymer framed gun out there on the market right now. All right, I just think it's phenomenal, and it punches way above its weight class. It shoots like a much larger gun in terms of recoil and all of those other things. So that's that. All right, let me check these messages here, see what people have got. How do I do that? Opinion on Glock 26 with extended mags. Honestly, if you're going to put an extended mag in a Glock 26, get a Glock 19. That's kind of how I feel about that. And interestingly, on the retail side, is the existence of the Glock 43 has really sort of torpedoed Glock 26 sales. We hardly ever sell 26s. We almost exclusively, when we're selling Glocks, we sell 19s and we sell 43s. And the same thing's very true with the M&P line as well. We sell a lot of the full size, the compact, and the shield, but not any more of the new of the old kind of subcompacts that were like Glock 26 sized. I have no thoughts on the CZ-P10 other than CZ makes decent guns, and it's another striker-fired black plastic handgun. I think the Beretta CX4 carbine is a really neat gun to, it's a really fun gun to shoot. The 9mm pistol caliber carbines are a lot of fun and can be pressed into a self-defense role pretty readily. You're going to be able to get better hits with a 9mm carbine than you can with a pistol. You're going to be able to get better muzzle velocity out of it, that sort of stuff. Pretty good stuff. Okay, so tips on vehicle concealed carry. This is actually an interesting question. I carry the gun exactly like I would anywhere else. So I carry at the appendix position, and that's where my gun stays. One thing I don't do, because it's fucking stupid, is put my seatbelt behind my gun. Because what that does is, if you look at, I'm going to stand up. I'm not trying to show you guys my penis or anything. So I'm going to pull my shirt really tight, all right? So now I'm super printing. But if you look at where my gun is, all right, it's up here. If I put my seatbelt behind my gun like this, what that does is that lifts my seatbelt off of my hip area, which is where it's supposed to be. Your seatbelt's supposed to be low and tight across your hips, not across your abdomen. If your seatbelt's across your abdomen and you get into a car crash, you can actually cause significant internal injuries. It's the same reason why you're not supposed to loop your seatbelt under your armpit, because you can do some real damage to, you can crush your aorta and do all kinds of bad stuff to yourself. So when I'm doing vehicle carry, when I'm carrying in the car, my seatbelt goes over my gun, and it goes over my hips just like the way it's intended to be worn, because I am way more likely to get into a car crash than I am going to need to access my gun in a great big hurry from inside a vehicle. So I'm not going to compromise that primary layer of safety in order to live some Fantasyland Instagram operator scenario out. Which brings me to today's primary rant topic: choosing a firearms instructor. All right, buckle up. And this again isn't worth worth a full video. But what this is there's so many people out there offering firearms training right now. There's jillions of them, and they all have different levels of qualification to do this. However, my only real thought on this is they should probably have some sort of experience in the thing that they are teaching. For example, I shoot a lot of competition. If I'm going to take a class to get better at competition, it stands to reason that the person that I should take that class from has experience in competition shooting. So I'm going to seek out an instructor like Ben Steger or Bob Vogel or Ernest Langdon or Rob Leatham, or someone who has experience shooting competition at a high level, because they are going to be able to apply their skills and knowledge to the things that I want to learn. Similarly, if I, in my capacity as an Air Force Security Forces member, am looking to get better at tactics and shooting people with a long gun and the things that I may be, asked to do if I'm deployed overseas, I'm going to seek out an instructor who has experience with those things, like a Pat McNamara or a Travis Haley, or someone who has actually done that and has that sort of relevant real-world experience with those sorts of things. Which leads me to the third category of instructors, which are people who don't have experience with any of those things at all. Zero. Why? What is the benefit and the value in... And I'm not saying that these people can't be competent marksmanship instructors, because you don't need to have carried a gun in harm's way, and you don't need to be a top-tier competition shooter to be a competent marksmanship instructor. You can learn the fundamentals of marksmanship from someone else and be a good teacher and teach the fundamentals of marksmanship to someone else, and that's okay. But where this crosses the line is where you get these people who have no real-world experience with any of this sort of stuff, no formal, and suddenly they're teaching tactics, and they're teaching, concealed carry tactics, for example, which, what the fuck is a concealed carry tactic? What exactly are you trying to teach me? You know what a good concealed carry tactic is? Having a fast 40-yard dash time so you can run the fuck away, because you win 100% of fights that never happen, all right? But no, you've got these dickheads on Instagram who are doing all of this shit, and they've got no actual real-world experience with it, and it's just weird to me. It's very weird to me that this has become so popular that it's a thing that we actually have to address. Like, when did flashy CQB drills of questionable utility in both a marksmanship and a self-defense format become the coolest thing that you could possibly do? I don't get it. Anyway, that's my rant. When you're looking for an instructor, vet your instructor thoroughly. Make sure they have the appropriate background to be teaching you the things that they are claiming to teach you. Here's a perfect example. If you come to me to take a class, I'm going to say at the start of the class, hey, here's my background and my qualifications. I'm a master class IDPA shooter. I'm an A-class USPSA shooter. I'm an Air Force firearms instructor, and I have a couple of thousand. Like, if I actually think about it and do the math, I have probably 2,000 to 3,000 hours of formal firearms instruction under my belt that I've taken both from the military and in the private sector and all of that stuff. So that's my background. That means I am relatively well qualified to teach you certain things, but I stay in my lane. You know what I'm not qualified to teach you? Room clearing. I'm not qualified to teach you that, so I don't teach that. You know what I am qualified to teach you? Marksmanship. So I teach that. Make sure that your instructor has the necessary background to teach the things that they are claiming to, that they're saying that they are going to teach you. If your instructor is trying to teach you entangled gunfighting and they have no background in entangled gunfighting, maybe that's a red flag. Or once, if your instructor posted a video of their draw almost getting stuffed by a rubber dummy at 3 yards, then, maybe they're not somebody that you should take entangled gunfighting from. Just a thought. And yeah, so this is this t-shirt, by the way, back here is the legitimate Magnum PI shirt. It's the same type that he wore in the TV series. I was going to do Magnum PI for Halloween, but I had to shave my mustache, which is why I have the Tiger's hat, which I'm wearing right now because my hair is a mess. All right, so that wraps up the rant portion of the video. Tom did wear it better, let's be honest. Tom absolutely wore it better. That wraps up the rant portion of the video. I'm going to take questions here for the next 3 minutes because we're already at almost 20 minutes, and nobody wants to watch a fucking 20-minute YouTube video. But anyway, all right, so I just got one question. What do I think of the Springfield XDS pistols? I think that the XDS would probably be my 4th choice, 5th choice, 6th choice, 8th choice for concealed carry. I would much rather carry a Glock 43 or an M&P Shield 2.0 or a Walther PPS, the original PPS with the paddle magazine release, not the new one with the button. An old 3913, a J-frame, a sharp stick, a rock. These are all things that I would rather carry than an XD. Also, if you put pineapple on pizza, you're a freaking monster and you deserve to burn in the special hell. Favorite gun? Like, ever? I don't know. Like, that's... So the reason I don't like XDS pistols is because they're not well made, alright? They're made with indifferent quality control and indifferent attention to detail, and they're just not good guns, alright? You can get a good XDS. You absolutely can. There are good XDSs out there that are reliable and will run just fine. But your odds of getting a good, reliable gun are much better if you buy an M&P or a Glock or hell, I would rather have a Beretta Nano than an XDS. And nobody actually likes the Nano, but I would much rather have that than the XDS. It's too spotty. I can't deal with the spotty quality control on the XDS. Best gun for home defense. If I had to answer the best gun for home defense, I would have to say it's probably, I'm old school, a 12-gauge shotgun, provided you spend the time learning how to manage the weapon system. Best appendix holster for the Glock 43, Darkstar Gear. Darkstargear.com. You can order one right now. He'll ship it out to you. That's what I use for all my AIWB carry, provided he actually makes the holster for the gun I'm carrying. Tom, hurry up and make a freaking holster for the M9. Anyway, Dark Star gear makes great appendix gear. It's my #1 recommendation for appendix carry. Back to the home defense thing. 12 gauge is the only round that we can legitimately say has stopping power. You would be hard pressed to find a situation where somebody took a chest full of double-aught buck from a 12 gauge and a second shot was required. It just doesn't happen all that frequently. So the gauge is the truth, the way, and the life, all right? And if you can run the gauge and you can manage it, it is a phenomenal choice for home defense. Yeah. Oh, dude, if you could get an AA-12, that would be amazing. That would be a really cool home defense gun. I personally stick with the Mossberg 590s, that sort of stuff. I think 300 Black is an interesting choice for home defense if you are going to run it suppressed. And I like it in that role if you're running it suppressed because it eliminates the need to keep hearing protection by your home defense gun, because if anybody here has ever cooked off a carbine inside a room, it's a pretty unpleasant experience. Alright guys, we are at 21 minutes on the video. I'm going to sign off for today. Remember, vet your instructors, guys. Vet your instructors, alright? If you're going to take a class from somebody, make sure that they are qualified to teach the things that they say they are going to teach you. I'm Caleb Giddings. Remember, next time, run your gun, not your mouth.